What's up, everybody? Richard Prophet. And I always wore fake Rolex. I always wore fake Rolex. Let's roll the best intro in the game, and I'm gonna talk about it.
Cheers, fam.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Richard Prophet, the Last Dragon. Welcome back. Welcome back. That's the best intro in the watch game, bar none, hands down. Cheers. Cheers to you, D. All right, so I'm still in Miami. I got here July 5th. We're now in August, I don't know, like 10th or 11th or something like that. And I'm still here. But I'm leaving, actually I'm leaving Saturday up to Jacksonville. I'm a week in Jacksonville. And then I shoot down to Sarasota for a week. Then I shoot back to Miami for like a couple of days. And from Miami, I gotta shoot back to New York. And then from New York, I gotta go upstate for my daughter's wedding, the Catskills for my daughter's wedding. That's gonna be cool. But yeah, man, I'm just out here smoking a cigar. Enjoying a nice little Cuban coffee, what they call colada. At what they call the most famous Cuban restaurant in the world. So it's pretty popular. It's really packed. But and I'm wearing the Apex Predator. You know, the biggest yellow gold, solid gold piece in the game. The biggest yellow gold Rolex they make, right? And with the big bracelet. And I'm just enjoying this watch, man. I just got it, you know, and I'm really enjoying the heck out of it. And I'm just sitting out here in Miami for over a month. I live in New York, and I'm in Miami for over a month. Sitting outside, smoking a cigar, enjoying a colada, with the most expensive Rolex yellow gold piece on my wrist. And I'm thinking, man, you know what? I always wore a fake Rolex. It's crazy. I had my 50th birthday, so I'm on this side, the mortal side of 50 now. And you know, I'm starting to think how many lives I've lived within those 50 years, because, you know, I got little, you know, pieces of my life that, you know, are jammed into this one life. And it's like, those were like completely other people. Like, they were like completely other lives. I mean, if that makes sense. Like, I have lived so many lives in this one life. That is crazy. Like, now I'm the Rolex Last Dragon, right? I've had, you know, I got a beautiful collection of watches. I have almost every modern Rolex. I've been the first, or a handful of the first, who's got the most sought after pieces in modern times, in Rolex modern times. And now my everyday driver, my everyday wearer, is the biggest, most expensive solid gold yellow piece in the Rolex lineup with the big bracelet. And it's crazy that this is my life now, because I remember a whole nother life that I had that I wore fake Rolexes. Man, I wore fake Rolex for years, man. Years, like throughout different periods of my life. I remember I live in New York, right? So I used to go down to Canal Street. I don't know if they're still doing this on Canal Street, but when I was a young guy, you used to be able to go down to Canal Street and they would have fake Rolexes everywhere. Gold, steel, whatever. It just shows you how much I didn't know about Rolex back then. That I thought the steel ones were silver. Oh, the silver Rolex, it's crazy. I mean, I never knew nothing about Rolex. I didn't know what was a president, all I knew was what I knew to be the landlord watch, right? And that I always wanted one, right? So I was kind of, there's a term out there now, they say fake it till you make it, right? But I wasn't even faking it till I made it. I was just wearing fake Rolexes because I wanted to flex. I wanted to floss on, I wanted people to believe that I was wearing a Rolex, man. And again, like I said, it happened in different times in my life, in different lifetimes in this one lifetime, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure everybody out there over 50 can relate to what I'm saying. Like, there's been a lot of lives in this one lifetime, If you're younger than 50, you may not understand, but anybody 50 or older, I'm pretty sure can relate. So yeah, man. So one of my lives, so here's how it started. I would always get the fake yellow gold ones, right? Because remember, I didn't know white gold, I didn't know nothing. I just thought yellow was gold. Yellow is gold, right? So I would always go for the gold Rolex. And you gotta be careful with them because you can't get them wet. They're not waterproof. They were cheap back then. I don't know, 20, 25 bucks, whatever it was, $30. You can't get them wet. You can't shake them around too much, or the movement starts making a noise. I mean, the quality, I know some of the replicas now are fantastic and it's hard to tell, but back then the quality was horrible. So now thinking back, anybody that knew about watches could look at the pieces that I wore and could tell they were fugazi. You know what I'm saying? From a mile away. I'm glad the fake watch Buster and Rolex Enforcer wasn't out back then, man. Because this was before social media, of course. This was 20 years ago, but I would have been all over the pages, all over the blogs. Because I always wore fake Rolex, like I said. I remember, wow, this is crazy, but I'll tell you a couple little stories. So, when I used to get the gold Rolexes, right, yellow gold, I would go out with them. Obviously, you want to floss in the club. Look at my Rolex. Look at my Rolex. Look at my Rolex. Um, most of the people that I hung out with, the circles that I ran in as a young man, they didn't even know what a Rolex was. But you would tell them, "Oh, this is a Rolex," and they just knew the name. They associated the name with luxury, Rolex. Oh, it's a fancy, expensive watch, right? So, I remember being in clubs, right? And sweating in the club, you're dancing and you're moving around, it's hot, whatever. I remember having to go to the bathroom like every 10, 15 minutes or so to take off my watch and take tissue from the bathroom. I would be in a stall, I would do it privately in the stall. Take tissue from the bathroom to wipe off the back of the watch and the inside of the bracelet. Just so, and my sweat, I would wipe my sweat off just so it wouldn't turn green on my wrist and I wouldn't be, ridiculed, just so, I remember wiping my sweat off the back of my wrist and the back of the watch just so it wouldn't turn green on my wrist while I was in the club. So I'm on the bakery side of the restaurant where you can sit outside. So as people come and go. Yeah, and that happened to me for years. And when I would get home, whatever, if the back of the watch was green or whatever, I would throw it out. And I would just go to Canal Street and get another one, I would look for my same guy. If they sold me one that I liked. I didn't know the different models. I didn't know President. I didn't know. I just knew what a landlord watch looked like. And I was constantly looking for that one watch, but I never found it in gold. It was always in silver. And I didn't want it in silver. I wanted the gold Rolex, right? So usually, now looking back, the models were always President in gold. President. Yeah. I didn't know he was the president back then. I just knew it said Rolex on it. Tick, tick, tick. It would be ticking. Man, some of these fakes I had were friggin' terrible. Thank God no one in my circle, no one I was around knew about real Rolexes because I would have been exposed. Shit. I remember another time. This is a funny story. I remember at this time I had steel Rolex, right? Because I got hip to it. I was like, oh man, the yellow gold ones, they turn green on you. So I'm gonna start buying the silver ones. People would ask me, oh, oh, what's that? And I was like, oh no, this is white gold. I started saying, oh, this is white gold. Or this is platinum, right? This is platinum. What I should have been saying, oh no, this is steel, but I didn't even know Rolex. I didn't know there was steel Rolexes. I didn't even know there was such thing as a steel Rolex. But I mean, these things weren't even steel. They're probably like aluminum or something, But anyway. I would tell people, no, they're platinum. No, the white gold. I remember living with a chick. I was very young. Living with a chick, right? And breaking up. And she moving out of the apartment. And she had brought her mom's current boyfriend, or I forget, to help her move her stuff out, right? And but at this time, I had already started making some money, right? I was already in real estate. I had done a couple, I had a few things. I probably had like, I don't know. At this point, I probably had 5 or 6 uh, like 3 families under my belt or something like that, 3 or 4 families. So I had a few units. I don't know. Probably had about 20, 25 units at that point, 22 units. I don't know, something like that. So I had about 5 or 6 3-family houses at that point. So I had a little money coming in, right? But I didn't want to make the jump yet to buy a real Rolex, a real gold Rolex. At that time, a real gold Rolex was about $25,000, brand new. Damn, I remember them being a lot of prices. I remember a gold Rolex at one time, brand new, being $12,000. Then I remember it being $25,000, and then it was $25,000 for a long time. For years, a gold Rolex was $25,000. A gold landlord was $25,000 for years. Because I would always go in to Torno Corner and ask, "Oh, how much is that?" Oh, for those of you that don't know,
Sir?
For those of you that don't know, Torno or Bouchereau, whatever it's called now, used to be called Torno Corner. And I would always go in there, man. Like I said, I always dreamed of Rolex. I would always go in there and say, "How much is this? How much is this gold Rolex?" Whatever gold one they had on display at that time. 25,000. 24, 25,000. It was 25,000 for the longest time. So anyway, what was that? Oh, so anyway, I was with this chick, and at that time, I had got hip to the fact. Now, at this point, I had already had a real Rolex in the early 90s. If you remember the video, it was my first Rolex I had got, my first real Rolex. I had a car dealership with my buddy, and someone had sold it to me for $1,500. It fell off a UPS truck. It was actually a 2-tone landlord bluesy. That was my first real Rolex. But if you remember the story, I ended up losing. I sold that in the Diamond District when I lost my business. That's a whole nother story. Actually, that video is why I call it the landlord watch. That's one of my favorite videos. Shared a lot in that video. I'll include that at the end here if you want to recheck that out. Or if you haven't seen that, man, and you've ever loved the Rolex, you gotta watch that video. So anyway, so at this point I had got hip already to the yellow Rolexes which turned green. So I started buying the gray ones, the gray Rolexes, which I would say were white gold or platinum. It depends on how dull the gray was, right? So this chick was moving on. I wasn't there. She had her mom's boyfriend or whatever help her move her stuff out of the house. And my watch was sitting there. Like when I think I had like a couple, so I was wearing one, and I had one sitting there on the in the closet. I got my box of bakery goods. Let me show you what I got here. So I got my colada, my Florida water, my croquetas, pan rellena, pastelitos, and my guava con quesos and cocoa. Fantastic. So anyway, he ended up stealing it. He ended up stealing my watch. And I remember coming home and seeing all her stuff gone, and the watch was gone. I was like, oh man. And she sending me a text like, oh, all that stuff I used to tell you, you used to tell me was fake. Even your watches were fake. Oh man. Yeah, I was a young man. It's crazy. And then, what happened there, I forgot. I lost that apartment, whatever the story was. Because what was crazy, I had already had some houses, but I hadn't bought myself a house yet. That was crazy. All of my investments, I would just rent them out immediately. And I didn't want to live with any tenants because, I dealt with the crap that tenants give you every day. So I just knew I didn't want to live with tenants. So, yeah. So he took my watch, man, and she found out it was the phone. She sent me a long, nasty text. Way back when. I might have even had, at this point, a two-way. You remember the two-way, the Motorola two-ways? I didn't even think there were phones back then. This might have been a Motorola two-way. It was either a Motorola two-way or a Sidekick. You remember Sidekick? T-Mobile had the Sidekick. It was the hottest phone. Everybody had them. It was the hottest phone. They really had a good run with that phone. It was one of those phones. But yeah. So she was one of the only ones that ever knew that I had a fake Rolex. I guess the guy must have ran to the pawn shop to try to pawn it, and they told me, yo, this is fugazi, Jack. This is bogus. Get out of here from this crap. So, but anyway, what do you get? Hey, one for me, I guess, One profit, zero for the scale. You know what I mean? Because imagine if that would have been a real, you know what I mean? That would have been something else. But so I was able just to laugh it off. I paid like $30 for that watch. And I remember, man, times I would be wearing a fake watch. This is crazy, I'm going to say this here. But I would be wearing a fake watch, and I already had a good car. I already had a big fancy car, but I kept buying property. So I would always come to like a crossroads. I would be like, okay, I'm going to get the next. This is when I started buying condos. I started buying a lot of condos in New York City. So I started buying condos. So I would be like, I would say, okay, the next condo would approach. And this was a time when I was, I was buying these things cheap. I was getting them cheap. This one, a gold Rolex was $25,000. So the next deal would present itself, and I'll be like, okay, either I'm going to buy another property, or I'm going to go buy a watch. And I would have a bogus watch, an aluminum Rolex on my wrist. What should I do? Should I buy a watch, or should I go buy this next condo? And I kept pushing it off. And I kept buying condos.
But even though I know it's not 100% like pure, like pure, man.
And you know what? Looking back now, buying the condos turned out to be the right decision because I was buying, they were giving them away. And now they went up 6-7 times, maybe 600-700%. And I got a lot of them. So, but I could have took a time out and got myself like a steel landlord very early in the game. I remember at the time, landlord bluesy. I remember when I got mine for $1,500 off the UPS truck. I remember they were selling in the store brand new from the AD for $3,500. $3,500. They were $3,500 and they stood there for years. They were $3,500, and then I remember them going to $7,500. Like quickly after that, they jumped from like $3,500 to $7,500. Like quickly after that, and then right after that, they became about 13, and then now they're at about 15 and 16. That's where they've been at. That's where they've been at for a while. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I wore fake Rolex for years, man. I give you another example. My last fake Rolex, when I said my next watch is going to be a real watch, and this was after I was able to get off the truck again, and I was making money again. This is after 2008. This is after 2008. Yeah. Well, I didn't lose anything. I didn't have to sell anything. But I wasn't growing. I wasn't making any money. I was just sustaining. So I had to go back to work. I had to get a job. But at least I didn't do anything. I knew a lot of guys, man, when we were ripping and rolling, I remember when all you needed was a heartbeat and you could get a loan for a house. Not only could you get a loan for multifamily especially, they would give you back money at closing, right? I mean, guys out there that have been in the game for years will remember that. So it was Prophet, what are you talking about? It was 120% financing. Not only did you not have to put any money down, and you didn't have to qualify for any loans, it was stated. So you would state how much you made. You would state how much you're stating that you made. Mr. Prophet, how much money did you make last year? Oh, I made about $200,000. Oh, okay. You mean $150,000? I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Prophet, how much did you make last year? Oh, I made about $150,000. Oh, you mean $200,000? Yeah, I do mean that. I made $200,000. Okay, we'll put that down. It was crazy. And I remember walking away at a closing. Wow. I had bought a house. For like $250,000 on Walton Avenue in the Bronx. I remember this house. Beautiful. It was a beautiful house. It was a brick house right on the corner. I think it was a two-family with a basement. I had bought it for $250,000. What I didn't know, he had a tax abatement on it, like a 27-year tax. It was like 27 years left in the tax abatement. And I didn't even know that. I mean, I was so young. I was so uneducated in the game. But When I bought that house for $250,000, it had bad tenants, and the guy just wanted to get rid of it. So I bought it for $250,000. I remember at the closing, not only did I not put any money down when I bought that house, at the closing, I got back like 60 grand. It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, I got back like 45. I got back like 45, and then I got another 15 or 55. Yeah, about 60 grand, maybe 60 and change. Yeah, it was crazy, man. I was like, wow, real estate is for me. This is crazy. Yeah, that was the Wild Wild West days. That was right before 2008, and then all that came crashing down. I mean, I'm lucky. I didn't lose anything. I got to hang on to my stuff because I had a trade. I could have went back to work, and my trade paid decently. So I was able, and my homes were maintaining. So they were paying their mortgages. They were servicing the debt, essentially. I wasn't making any money, but they were servicing their debts. So, yeah, I mean, I knew guys that were truck drivers, like 18-wheel drivers, big truck, tractor trailer drivers, and had 16, 17, two-family homes, and they were rocking 18 homes. And, 2010, 2011, he's back to driving the truck. And, living with his mother. Because now it's like a whole lot harder to get foreclosed on and all this other stuff. There's all these protections in place. But back then, 2009, 2010, 2011, they were taking houses. Hey, next, they weren't hearing your excuses. They weren't doing nothing. They were taking houses. And then, then modifications came into play. I turned that into a business. I started doing modifications for people. I did my own modifications. And I remember it was brand new too. Nobody knew what that was. So at the beginning, the modifications would ruin your credit, and then later on, it wouldn't affect your credit. It was all new. So the government got involved, and they started putting different rulings. Oh, you can't mess up this credit because of modifications. It was crazy. Everything was all new back then. Yeah, man. So I was around for real estate. I was around for the Wild Wild West. Pre-2008 was crazy. It was crazy. A lot of people got rich, man. A lot of people got rich. And post-2008, a lot of people lost everything. Lost it all. Lost everything. I mean, I knew guys that, killed themselves behind losing their their newfound fortunes. A lot of guys got strung out on drugs. It's crazy because I came up from the hood where everybody's uncle or everybody's older brother was strung out on drugs, so you weren't that far removed from it. Thankfully for me, I never had any family members strung out on drugs, but all my friends, had an uncle that was on drugs or older brother was strung out on drugs. So I was never really that far from it. But anyway, yeah, man. So I kind of went way to the right on my storytelling, but yeah, the topic of this story was I wore fake Rolex for years, man. I wore it for years, and even when I got my first Mercedes-Benz truck, got a Benz truck. It was blue, it was beautiful, it had a little sparkle to it. Oh man, it was gorgeous, it was shiny. I had a fake Rolex on my wrist. Yeah. I had a fake Rolex on my wrist. And then, the funny thing was, no one would question you. No one would question you because you're driving a Benz, and they know you got some properties and stuff. And they wouldn't question you. They would just automatically assume that that your watch was real, right? And what do you do when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. I remember seeing that on The Odd Couple. Who remembers The Odd Couple? Leave it in the comments below. One of the greatest shows of all time. I would say The Odd Couple, The Honeymooners, and Miami Vice. Three of the greatest shows of all time. A lot of people would argue I Love Lucy as well, but I liked I Love Lucy, but I wasn't aware it was the greatest shows of all time. For me, my top three would be Miami Vice, The Honeymooners, and The Odd Couple. They're my all-time favorites. So, and here's a quick little fun fact for you. Don Johnson in Miami Vice, Sonny Crockett, your boy Sonny Burnett, Sonny Crockett, also wore a fake Rolex in the show. A lot of times the watch he had was an Eagle. It was made to look like a Rolex, but the times that I think he wore like a fake Daytona, a Rolex Daytona, was fake. Yep. So I guess I'm in good company with the fake watches. But yeah, man, I wore a fake, and I would have like a Versace jacket on in the club, my fake watch on, and no one would question me, right? Because I was already doing it. But I would run down to the bathroom. I would be in the store. I would take the watch off, and I would wipe off the inside, wipe off my wrist, wipe off the bracelet, because I didn't want it to turn green and get embarrassed. But yeah, I remember the last fake Rolex I had was the yellow gold one, and it was a really good copy. It was kind of heavy. Oh, but these fake watches, they were so light. Now, knowing about Rolex, but back then I knew nothing about them. I didn't know how the heft to them or whatever. But the copy that I had, the yellow one, it was probably like a clone, because it was a great copy. It had some heft to it. Yeah, it was a good color of gold. It didn't look orangey. It didn't look bogus. It was. Now thinking back, it was probably it was a great copy. It was probably a clone. It had a quiet movement. It wouldn't tick. It would just. For those that know, people think, oh, Rolex doesn't tick tock. It sweeps. For those that know, it just moves super fast. But anyway, it was really hard to tell on this one, man. But anyway, that one, and I had that one for years, and it never turned green. But I would always, also take it off, wipe it off, and everything. But that one, I actually was in a store, and I took it off to try on a sweater or something like that, and I left it. I had an eyeglass case. I put it in the eyeglass case. Because back then, I didn't even know, because I had never had a Rolex box. So I didn't know box papers. I didn't know none of that. Because the real Rolex that I had bought, the Landlord Bluesy, remember, I didn't get it with a box. It fell off the truck when I got it. So I didn't even know what a box. I would keep it in. My real Landlord Bluesy, I would keep it in a sock, in my sock drawer. It was was crazy. But anyway, so this, my gold Rolex, I would keep it like in an eye, it was red, with an eyeglass hard case thing. You know, I would keep it in that. So I had took it with me, and I went in the store to try on a sweater, and I had took it off, and I put it in the eyeglass thing, and I kept shopping, whatever. I never put it back on, and I ended up losing it. Yeah. I ended up losing. Somebody must have said, "Wow, we found the Rolex," you know, until they went to the pawn shop and found out your boy was phony. Oh man. But yeah, so that was my last fake Rolex. After that, you know, things started coming around slowly but surely. I started building up again and got back on my feet. And I went and I got solid gold, landlord. You know, it's been and now here we are, you know. Been up ever since. I mean, it's gotten a little tight here and there, but mostly I've been up ever since. But I'm grown now. I'm a grown man now, you know. Things that don't make sense don't make sense. You know, I won't just, you know, do things that don't make much sense anymore. And now I got a box full of watches, and you know, I wear the Apex Predator on the daily. I smoke cigars. I vacation for months at a time. I summer in Florida. I winter in New York, which some people say I do in reverse, but I like the holidays in New York. What are you gonna do? I like the holidays. And I don't really like the summers in New York anymore because it gets too crazy, man. It gets too crazy. So no matter if you're in a nice neighborhood or not, other neighborhoods push down and whatever, it gets too crazy. So especially now, you know. But that's a whole nother story. So yeah, so I'm like a snowbird in reverse. I summer in Florida and I winter in New York. So I guess I'm not really on vacation. I mean, this is just my life now. We're doing business. I launched my company here, a domestic company here in Florida. I've already opened up 2 lines of credit. I already got 2 credit cards. Pretty cool. And we got our EIN. We got a website. Yeah, you know, we're rolling. So I already got 1 property I'm looking at. So, you know, like I said, I'm a grown man now. Now I wear the Apex Predator, the most expensive yellow gold piece in the Rolex range. So that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Like this feels like a whole nother life in this lifetime. And back when I got my first landlord bluesy for $1,500 when I was working at the car dealership, that felt like a whole nother life. And back when I would buy fake Rolexes down on Canal Street, that felt like a whole nother life, you know? So yeah, man. In my lifetime, I've had a few different lives. Now, just saying that out loud, it makes me think, is that what they mean when they say like a cat has 9 lives or whatever? Do we have 9 lives in our lifetime? I guess that's something to ponder. Any philosopher out there, maybe in the family, can leave it in the comments below. And you know, how many lives do we have in a lifetime? You know, or maybe a theologian out there, if you're part of the family, you're watching it here. maybe you can leave it in the comments below. But yeah, man, I like to, us men of a certain age, I like to ponder back things, think about things. And when you look back at them today in this time, like it seems like it was a whole nother, like, that can't be the same person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be the same person, but it is. It is. It was all different lives you've had in one lifetime. So maybe we all have 9 lives. Maybe that's just what it is. Man, I gotta count how many lives that was for me, because I hope I'm not approaching my 9th one, And then, not really to get on this too much, but sometimes I think, what? I've seen a lot. I've done a lot. If he calls for me, then, But then I think, what? I'm not ready to go, because I got a lot more to do. All right, I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, but there's a lot more still for me to do, But again, that's on another day I might be feeling like that, And then I've also seen people die when they're 52, 53. To me, that's young. Nowadays, that's young. So, I think, like, when you pass on, is it really because you have nothing else to give? But who's to say that you have nothing else to give, Because I had a buddy of mine pass when he was 53. As a young man, and, but he, rest in peace to him, but he really wasn't contributing to society in a positive manner. He was kind of like taking from society. R.I.P. to him, and, peace to his family and everything, but he was kind of like a parasite on society. That's my boy, rest in peace to him, but, he was like running, they were running lawsuits, they had a crew going around. Yeah, there's a lot of bogusness with that, and I had his, seen him for years or whatever, because, that's not my circle, that's not, we were childhood friends, but that's not, people I really, really am around anymore, can be around anymore, and my associates now, friends of mine, be like, oh, you can't be around, guys doing this and doing that. You never know, you're around somebody that could, the lightning comes for him, you sit next to him, you're gonna get struck. You understand what I'm saying? Read in between the lines on that one. But yeah, man, that's my story. So I always wore a fake Rolex. I wore a fake Rolex for years, man. As a kid and as a young man, I wore a fake Rolex. For a lot of different lives, at least 2 of my lives, I wore a fake Rolex. Dragon life. Yeah, man. That was that story. Hold on. Kind of getting a little hungry. Let me bite into one. Ooh. Miami croquetas. If you know, you know. All right, everybody, that's the story for tonight. We own the night. There's other pretenders out there, but Sunday night, we own it. We own Sunday nights. And, yeah, man, so that's the story. And, yeah, man, so I'll see you next week. Only the initiated. We usually go on Saturdays, 2 videos on Saturdays. Sometimes you get a video on Friday. And the only the initiated videos are uninterrupted. Yeah. Uninterrupted, no commercials, no advertising, and it's just you, me, and opportunity. And we do music, we curse, we can do anything over there, you know. So yeah, because there's no advertising. If that's something you're thinking about, or if it feels right to you, join up, click only the initiated. And check out all those private videos, man. Those are videos, some of those topics are not for everybody, man. So, wow, this croqueta is fantastic. All right, I'm your host, Future Prophet Rolex and Real Estate Channel. We are snowbirding in reverse in Miami. Oh man, I dropped my phone. And we're up. See you next time. The Daytona Killer.
Cheers, family.